Mark Webber has just set off a shockwave through the Formula One paddock with comments that have left McLaren scrambling to maintain control of their internal narrative. The Australian, long remembered for his intense rivalry with Sebastian Vettel during his Red Bull days, has now turned his sharp instincts and loyalty toward defending Oscar Piastri, his young protégé who suddenly finds himself at the heart of growing tensions inside McLaren. What Webber has revealed, and more importantly what he's been doing behind the scenes, paints a picture of deep frustration, political strain, and quiet defiance that could completely reshape McLaren's balance of power. For months, McLaren have proudly preached their papaya rules philosophy, that both drivers, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, are treated equally, allowed to race freely without favoritism. But recent races have put that promise to the test like never before. Questionable strategy calls and controversial on-track moments have sparked a perception among fans and pundits alike that Norris has been receiving subtle advantages, while Piastri, the current championship leader, has been left to fight his own battles. Webber, who knows all too well how team politics can quietly sabotage a title campaign, is determined not to let history repeat itself. Having experienced the sting of favoritism firsthand at Red Bull when Vettel became the team's golden child, Webber is now ensuring that Piastri doesn't fall victim to the same politics that once derailed his own championship hopes. What makes this situation even more compelling is how familiar it feels. Webber was once in Piastri's shoes, fast, determined, but trapped within a team struggling to manage internal rivalries and external pressure. Back then, he learned the hard way that talent alone isn't enough in Formula One when the politics start to play their part. Now, as Piastri's manager and mentor, Webber is applying those hard-earned lessons to protect his driver from falling into the same traps. Insiders close to McLaren suggest Webber has been pushing hard behind closed doors, demanding that the team stay truly impartial, not by giving Piastri special treatment, but by ensuring fairness is consistently upheld. That distinction matters more than ever in a championship season where every decision, every pit stop, every strategy call could make or break the title. Publicly, McLaren's leadership, CEO Zak Brown and team principal Andrea Stella, continue to project unity, insisting both drivers are treated equally. But Webber's recent comments tell a different story, hinting that patience within Piastri's camp is wearing thin. His message is simple yet powerful. If McLaren truly want to build a lasting legacy, they cannot afford to undermine the driver currently leading their championship charge. Once trust starts to crack, it's almost impossible to repair, and Webber has made it clear that on his watch, Piastri will not be taken advantage of. As the Formula One world turns its attention to Austin for the next Grand Prix, Webber's bombshell has raised the stakes dramatically. This is no longer just about one race or a few questionable strategy calls. It's about fairness, loyalty, and the integrity of one of F1's most historic teams. The way McLaren responds to this situation could define not only their championship hopes, but also their reputation within the sport for years to come. Webber's influence inside McLaren has never been louder. Behind the scenes, he's been attending debriefs, maintaining constant dialogue with senior figures, and quietly monitoring every small decision that could impact his driver. Insiders describe him as calm but relentless, a man who understands that favoritism in Formula One rarely reveals itself in big moments. Instead, it creeps in through the smallest of details, an earlier pit stop for one driver, a preferred tire compound, or even a subtle strategy shift. Webber is watching all of it, and McLaren knows it. His presence alone has changed how decisions are made within the team. He's not trying to create division, he's demanding accountability. To him, McLaren's commitment to equality shouldn't just be a PR statement repeated in interviews. It needs to be proven on track every weekend. Andrea Stella and Zak Brown continue to maintain that their papaya rules remain intact. Both drivers are free to race, without team orders and without bias. But as the championship pressure builds, that neutrality becomes harder and harder to maintain. Brown's recent statement ahead of the Austin race that McLaren will continue exactly as before was meant to calm speculation, but for many, including Webber, it's exactly what's being questioned. Exactly as before may sound like stability, but to Piastri's side of the garage, it sounds like the same pattern of unequal treatment repeating itself. The team's consistency is admirable, but in Formula One, refusing to adapt can be a fatal mistake. Championship battles are decided by fractions, and history is filled with examples of teams that lost everything because they refused to make the tough calls when it mattered most. Webber's stance is clear. If Piastri is leading the standings, then strategy must reflect that. It's not favoritism, it's logic. The focus on fairness doesn't mean ignoring reality. Every great championship team, from Ferrari's Schumacher era to Red Bull's current dominance, has eventually had to prioritize one driver to secure the title. McLaren's refusal to acknowledge that truth could come back to haunt them. As the paddock heads into the high-stakes Austin sprint weekend, every session takes on added weight. Piastri enters knowing that each point could decide the championship. Sprint results, qualifying performance, and Sunday's race will all shape the narrative. Webber has reportedly urged McLaren to approach the weekend with fairness, but also with a realistic mindset. His logic is pragmatic. Give both drivers a chance, but if one is ahead in the title fight, the strategy must support the bigger goal, the championship. For Piastri himself, Webber's mentorship is invaluable. The young Australian has managed immense pressure this season with remarkable composure, showing maturity beyond his years. Behind that calm exterior lies a quiet determination, the same steel that defined Webber's own career. The trust between them runs deep. Webber fights the unseen political battles, allowing Piastri to focus entirely on performance. And with the unpredictable nature of Austin's sprint weekend, that focus will be tested more than ever. McLaren's internal harmony, once considered a key part of their resurgence, now feels increasingly fragile. Zak Brown's reputation for transparency and fairness has been one of the cornerstones of McLaren's comeback story, but if Piastri feels even slightly undervalued again, that harmony could fracture beyond repair. Engineers are reportedly working overtime to maintain identical conditions on both sides of the garage, but Formula One is a human sport, and human bias is hard to erase completely. Years of history, relationships, and emotional investment in Lando Norris make perfect neutrality nearly impossible. Webber's presence ensures that everyone at Woking remains aware of that reality. The tension within McLaren mirrors the contrast between their two stars. Norris, expressive and emotionally charged, embodies the heart of the team and its fanbase. Piastri, methodical and quietly ruthless, represents precision and consistency. Both are elite drivers, but Formula One has rarely been kind to teams with two equal alphas. Eventually, one must lead. Webber understands this and is pushing McLaren to define its priorities before chaos forces their hand. The Austin weekend could very well be the turning point. A fair race with clean results would restore confidence, but another strategic controversy could ignite a full-blown crisis that stretches through the rest of the season. For now, Webber continues his role as the quiet enforcer, the man ensuring that his driver's fate remains in his own hands. His involvement has already changed how fans perceive McLaren. Many now see him as the voice of fairness in a sport often clouded by politics and favoritism. He's not just fighting for Piastri, he's fighting for what Formula One should stand for. Pure competition decided on track, not in meeting rooms. That's what makes this story so powerful. Every millisecond matters in Formula One, but so does integrity. Webber's influence could become the psychological edge Piastri needs to hold off both Norris and Verstappen in the final rounds of the season. As the lights go out in Austin, the paddock watches with anticipation. Webber's bombshell has shifted the narrative. This is no longer just about one team or one rivalry. It's about legacy. Webber's, Piastri's, and McLaren's. And he's determined that this time, talent won't be buried beneath politics, and history won't repeat itself. Whether his message leads to unity or sparks confrontation, one thing is clear: Webber has already changed the game. Fans tuning in this weekend won't just be watching lap times. They'll be watching to see if McLaren truly practiced the equality they so proudly preach.